Hey, what is up, everybody? I'm Susan Leonardson, and I'm here to show you the basics of the Clickfunnels 2.0 funnel editor. I figured the easiest way for me to show you that is to rebuild something that already exists. And along the way, along that journey, we will talk about the features that are inside of the funnel editor and show you what they do, show you some tips along the way. So if you love that idea, let me know and we will get started. So I am going to share my screen here. Let me get me out of the way. Okay. So I thought it would be, since we're gearing up for building funnel hubs in our Catalyst and Continuum program this next tomorrow, I think maybe even tomorrow. So I figured let's get started learning the funnel editor by rebuilding the Secrets of Success funnel hub. This is Russell's latest project that he's been working on and rolling out. This is a brand new funnel hub. It follows the newsletter nexus, what we talk about inside of our program, the newsletter nexus strategy, where the funnel hub's purpose is to get people onto your newsletter, and that becomes your nurture space before you start inviting them into your offers and asking them for money. So let me know if you're here. Let me know if you're watching and that you can hear me okay. And I think we are good to go. So, all right. So here's the funnel hub. And here is, I was playing with the style guide, making sure I wasn't starting completely from scratch with this. So let's go ahead and start making a funnel. And actually a funnel hub in 2.0, go ahead and close this tab. A funnel hub in 2.0 is actually going to not be in your funnels. You would create your funnel hub as part of your site. So this is kind of my personal account here. I don't really have anything created in this account right now, but I do plan to have something in the future. So normally you would go here to sites and you would build it here, but for the purposes of this training, I'm going to go into funnels and we'll do a later training on how to do the site area because we're just trying to use the editor. So the editor is the same no matter whether you're doing it in the site or within the funnel area. The editor is the same, which is awesome. So I'm actually just going to create a brand new funnel here. And this is going to just be like our funnel hub editor training. And we're going to go ahead with that. And then we are going to go into the funnel editor here. Okay, so when you're in a funnel, this is the only difference. So when you're in a site, you don't get this funnel area here where it shows like the flow of your funnels. So this is going to be the only difference. If you're in the funnel area, we have to click on this plus and add a page. So I'm going to do that. And I want to start from scratch, totally blank. I don't want to start with a template for this purpose. So I'm going to click on new page over here, and that'll give me a blank slate. So we're going to put home page. Let's do editor training for my own purposes of looking back later at like, what was this page that I did? I'm going to use the style guide that I just threw together. It's not a complete style guide. Of Secrets of Success. Now, this training is assuming that you already have your style guide put together. If you don't have a style guide, you don't even know what a style guide is, there is a separate training for that. It's actually, I have one that I created a while back. It's inside of our GeekOut Academy. And we are going to be sending everyone a link to where you can get access to that very, very shortly. So that's coming very soon. The style guide is just a place where you can preset all of your style settings so that when you create your pages, everything is already kind of preset as far as your colors and your fonts and the colors of your buttons and your shadows and your corners and like all those things. So I kind of have that set for the Secrets of Success, meaning I put in the right colors and I made the button look the way that it should look. I don't think I have the right fonts in there yet, so we'll explore that a little bit. Okay, so Awesome. Whoever's in the comments that you can hear me perfectly. Thank you for letting me know. Okay, so we're going to go into edit this funnel page. And what we're doing is we're going to recreate the secrets of success page. And what the intention of this training is for you to learn how to use, like, how does the editor actually function? And also getting our brains trained on what sections are, what rows are, columns. How do we start to like lay out our page, and where do we want to put elements? And so it's going to help you learn how to structure your pages. So, all right, we're in our editor. You can see it's totally blank. If you click on these lines right here, it will even hide that thing over on the side. This is like the funnel view. So if you have more pages in here, it'll show you more pages. We're going to just hide that for now. So we have a full width blank slate. So the first thing that we're going to look at is our sections. How many sections do we see here? This black background is one section. That's a really good indicator to help us identify what a section is. So if you were to, like, if you're making your own stuff, you're obviously not going to copy somebody else's thing like we're doing today. We're recreating this for purposes of learning. You're not going to go and copy Russell's funnel hub to make your own funnel hub, but you can funnel hack it or design hack it, which is Catherine Jones's thing, right? Where you can come in, you can look at the design of like, okay, well, he has a header up at the top, so I'm going to put a header at the top of mine, right? He has this black section, so I'm going to put a black section. He has this next section with like a cool background in it. I'm going to have that, right? We can kind of mimic it. And so you're going to know how to do that when we're done with this. So let's start building out our section. So we know we have black. We have a black section here. The background changes. So that's a really good indicator that the section, it's a new section, right? So we have this background color section here. And then we have another color change where it goes to this white section. So far we have 3 separate sections. And then we have another color change to this black section. So now we're at 4. Another color change to this background here, which we're at 5. And then we have the footer down here, which is now 6. So we have 6 sections on this page. So I'm just going to add in, we're going to add a full width. So this is the other thing you need to know about is when you add a section, you have the option of adding a full page, which means it goes from edge to edge. You have the ability to do wide, which it doesn't go edge to edge. You can see the green box. The green is always sections. It is that wide in comparison to our full page. And then we also have a medium, which is even smaller, and a small, and you can see the differences there. And then we have extra small, and we're getting pretty small with our sections here. I don't know that I've actually ever used these small ones. I typically am using full page width, and sometimes I use the whatever size this is, the large. Now, once you have these sections created, you can actually come into the settings and you can adjust the sizes right here with the click of a button. So you can edit them afterwards. If you're like, oh, I thought I wanted that full page, but I think I actually want it a little bit narrower. You don't have to go and rebuild it. You can just adjust the size right here. So I'm actually going to make all of these full width, which is the extra large size. And I might have to like take a pause for a moment because my children don't seem to be understanding what the stop sign on my door means today. So give me just a second. If you are doing this and you're following along and you want to kind of create this, follow along, you can pull up a blank page, add in 6 sections, and then you will be caught up. I need to add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. All right, give me 10 seconds and I'll be right back. To remind them. All right, so we have our 6 sections, and then we are going to add in, we're going to come back up to the top, or let's talk about rows. So a good indicator of rows is actually going to be the columns. You can see in this top section here, that we have a logo over on the left, and we have, make sure I'm not muted. Yep. Oh, okay. A logo on the left. And then on the right, we have this navigation happening with a button. So to me, it actually looks like they have used either, it could be done a couple of ways. And I know that there is a way you can pull up the inspect your page and figure out exactly what that is. But we're doing this training where you don't have to inspect your page. We're just going to go for it. We're not going to inspect code. So we're going to assume that there are 2 columns. We've got a logo, and then we have over here on this column, we have navigation, and then there is a trick to get the button into the same column, and I will show you that trick. This is going to give us a great reason to do one of the tricks that you need to know about. So we're going to add a 2-column row at the top. Okay. Now, I like to add in colors and backgrounds as I go because visually it helps me separate out my sections and I can see it coming together easier that way. So I'm going to make this section black right now. I already have my style guide preset, so I have my paints. I already have the black as a dark background for me. If you don't have these preset, or you want to use a color that's not part of your presets, you just come down here to background and turn it on. And then you can click on background and choose whatever color you want. It can be anything you want. It doesn't have to be something in your style guide. I'm going to turn that off though, because we're going to use black, which is in my style guide. Okay, then what I also know is that I have a logo. So I have an image on the left side. So I'm going to add an image here. And then I also know that it's left aligned in my spacing here. So while I'm here, I'm going to go into my image settings and I'm going to left align it. And that is right down here in image settings. And then at the bottom of that image settings sections, we have a line and I'm just going to choose it to be to the left. And right now it's not going to look like it's changing because this image is taking up the full space. And so it can't go left or right. It's filling the entire space. The other thing we will probably adjust later is how wide this row is. So we'll get to that. Okay, then over on this side, we know that there is navigation. We have our menu up here. So we're going to add that in, which is called navigation. And then we have a button. So we kind of run into a problem here because we also need to get a button next to our navigation. So here's where the trick comes in. It is now possible in Clickfunnels 2.0 to put sections within sections and sections within rows and build within our constraints that we had previously in Clickfunnels Classic. There's also a way to use Flex. If you're familiar with Flex at all, you can use that. I find it to be really finicky right now, so I prefer this method. There is, however, you have to enable the ability to do it. So you'd go to settings and then go to editor settings. And then you want to check this box that is next to sections behavior. It says it allows sections to behave as elements or sections. So we're going to choose that one. Now what that means is I'm going to go ahead and delete this navigation. So I can now add a new element, but now it's going to allow me, if I click on this blank, like quick menu right here, it's now going to allow me to add it in a section as an element. So you can see it's orange. So let me back up a minute. Typically our sections are green. They're the green boxes. Then our rows and columns are blue. And then our elements are orange. And you can see it says image. But now our section, it says section, but it's orange because it's behaving as an element. What that means is that I can now put a 2-column row inside of this section. And now I have my image for here. I can stick my navigation here. And I can stick a button here. Now, obviously, it doesn't look right yet, but the elements are there and they are in the spots that they need to be. I can adjust my rows. I can grab my columns. I can grab this little slider in between my 2 columns, and adjust that. And that's going to help it already start to look a little bit better. And then the other thing that I'm going to need to do is on our section, it is currently set for the lightest background. I'm going to choose none background. So now it is transparent. Okay, so now we're already getting closer to what it should look like. But I'm going to keep going because I want to build out at least a couple more, 2 or 3 more sections of just getting the elements on the page. So we're going to go to this next section, and this one is a background image. I did download all of these images, so I'll see if I have it handy. But in the meantime, we have, let me see if you can tell me how many, I'm going to add a row to this section. How many columns are there here? This one's a little bit more obvious, but also we're running into the same thing that we ran into up here, that we have, it appears like it's just a 2-column row, right? We have 2 column, you have a column number 1 here, column number 2 here with the image. So it looks like it's this, right? 2 columns, we'll put image over here. We have text over here. We'll put some stuff in like that. And then, but now we've run into that problem again of it's like, it's 2 columns, but there's like, within this 1 column, we have 1 column of stuff happening, and then it goes to 2 columns, and then it goes back to 1 column. And I'm not exactly sure what, we'll navigate we'll explore how to make this happen here. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing though. So we have our text. We're going to add another element, which is going to be our section, and add a 2-column row. And then we're going to add here. So we've got our section that's allowing us to have 2-column row. And then what I want to do is I want to go back to our single. So I actually want to go to this add element part, and we're going to put in actually, let me back up, because I think there's maybe another way we can do this to get that little bar there. And I think the answer might be that we're going to add another row still within that section we added. And I'm going to add a 1-column row, and I'll show you why in a minute. Okay. So this is actually an image. Let's add this image. Sometimes you'll find on Russell's funnel pages that the headlines are actually images. That's fine to do, except for if you care about SEO, which Russell doesn't, because that's not his strategy. So I can copy and paste some of this into our text, and we're going to left align it. So when you are adding in text, you are going to click. It can be, sometimes it's a little finicky. You can click into it, and as long as you see a blinking cursor, you know you're editing it. If you don't see that blinking cursor, then you're not editing. I don't know which one of these I'm going to end up keeping. We can also examine what type of fonts he's using, but I'm not going to go to that level here today. So I think we will get rid of those, and we'll keep our subheadline one. We can adjust the size of the text. And again, we have to, so if I click on it once, I can edit, and it also pops up this other bar. This allows you to edit like the formatting of your text. So I'm going to click left align. If you click on this here, it will open up the settings menu for your text element. You can also hover and get to the orange box and go to settings that way. And then the other thing is that there are keyboard shortcuts. So if you're hovering over your element and you use E on your keyboard, it will jump to edit mode here. And then if you are on an image and you push E, it will open up the settings. So that's just one of the keyboard shortcuts if you are a keyboard shortcut type of person. Okay. All right, so let's continue. Let me see if I actually have these images ready to upload, and then we can see what it's looking like here. We're going to add a new folder, Secrets of Success, and we'll go to that folder. So there's another tip for you. You can add folders and keep all of your assets, all of your digital files all organized and together. So I know I had a couple of them. I was starting to save them in a folder on here. Where is my folder? Secrets of Success. So a couple, I have the logo here. And then the rest of them, I got tired of choosing where to save them. So the rest of them, I have them in my downloads folder. So we have, it looks like they start right here. We're going to just upload all of these. And we're going to have to wait a minute for those to upload. So while we're doing that, let's make sure that they're actually uploading. Let's try that one more time. Open. Okay, generating thumbnails. Okay, so while that's uploading, it's uploading 30 files, and you can see, whoa, it went real quick putting those thumbnails in there. And now it is just still, it's working on actually uploading them. So we'll give that a second. So we're going to attempt to get this section done and this section done all the way complete. And then I'll show you some of the features that are in the editor as we're working through that. So far, what we have covered is how do you get a button next to your stuff? How do you add in a second column within a single column, right? The other things on this page are like, well, how do you get like this cool, like overlapping look, right? I will cover that. How we can get this box look. So I'm not going to necessarily build out every single one of these sections in its entirety, but we're using this page as our examples of like, oh, well, how do you do that, right? How do you make it look like this? There's not a whole lot happening on this page, but we'll continue this series. And as I have more things to share with you, we'll keep showing. All right. So here's all my images. They are uploaded. Let's get our logo. Actually, what am I on? I'm on a section. So we need our section background. I think we're on this one. Okay, so there's our section background. We need to have this logo here. This one here. And we need Russell's picture over here. Then it'll start to look like a legit page, and then I'll show you some cool stuff. Russell here. And we'll see if we can find that Secrets of Success logo for up here on the top. I think it was this one, my first one I uploaded. Doesn't quite match. That must be used somewhere else. That one's used in the footer. So we're going to look for the one that we need. This is actually loaded, like, and uploaded. This is actually something that's used on the page. So if you're like, oh, that's broken, that one's never uploading, it actually is. What I'm seeing is, oh, it is all one image. I thought maybe they broke it up into 2 images. So we need to find, maybe I didn't actually download that one. That's okay. We're going to move on. We're going to pretend that's the right logo that I found. Okay, let's mess with padding and stuff, because right now this is not looking like this. So let's play with that and make it look a little bit better. One thing you need to know about the padding and the margins is that it can be on everything. So you're going to find that it's on sections, it's on rows, it's on elements, it's on columns. And so if you're trying to like really tighten up the spacing on something, you have to check all of those places. So I'm going to go into the section settings and I'm going to remove it completely. We have this padding and padding on the sides. I'm just going to remove all of the padding in the section. Then let's check the row. We're going to need some padding, but I generally like to just remove it and then start there if I'm trying to make it match something. And then we also are having a problem with it not lining up. Now, this is where Flex comes in really handy. And so it may be decided that that's actually what we use. But let's just tighten everything up and see how it looks, because I don't even have things the right size yet. I'm going to, I think I have my, Fonts Ninja add-on. You only need this if you're trying to copy a design somewhere, right? It tells us what the font is and what the size is. So Nunito Sans, and it looks like we're using 15 pixels. So I don't even know if that font is a native font, but let's try. So I'm in my navigation settings. Right now, I'm just going to come down here to the typography and change. Let's see if that font is in here. Yes, it is. Okay, so this is the font they're using. And then it looks like 15 is the size. Okay, so now we're better with our font size. And then let's check over here. The button is same font, 16 pixels. So we'll go here and change our button. I'm going to go to edit style. So when you're in your elements and you're like, I can't find where to edit that, you have to click on override or edit style. Edit style, it is going to take you to your style guide, and you're going to edit it in your style guide, which means that edit is going to actually propagate across all your stuff. That's maybe not always the good way to go. If you're just like, I just want to change it in this one location, how it looks, then you're going to click override, and then it opens up all the other settings. So we're looking for the font, and it is the Nunito. I would just go set this on the style guide, and I should for this particular style guide. I would set it so I don't have to keep changing it everywhere. And then the font size needs to change. Now, there's two different types of sizes of a measurement for fonts in 2.0. One of them is called REM. And if you click on there, you can switch it over to pixels. Designers use REM, but if you have no idea what that is, switch it to pixels, because that's probably what you're more familiar with. So we're going to move this to 16. Okay, and then his says subscribe. So I'm going to come back up to the top. I can change the button text right here. And now it looks like that. These are not lining up, so that tells me that there's probably margin. So we're going to eliminate that to 0. Now it's lining up. And the other things that are affecting how this looks is that we have this section that I can also remove padding from. And we have the other row and column that we can remove padding from. And then this element here probably has margin. Yep. So now we have like no margins. This actually still might. I didn't change this. Okay, that one's good. And then subscribe. I think we got rid of all of that. We have some padding on it. This is the padding around the words though. Okay. All right. So that's like all the places that you can remove padding. Now, obviously it still doesn't look right? But now you can kind of add it back in. So I want to line this up with the other. So I'm going to add in a little bit of margin. So it's lined back up. And now I can go to like my section and add in some padding on the top, some padding on the bottom. And now we're looking better. That, okay. Our spacing is looking better. Okay. This spacing here isn't correct. I did move this over earlier, but we actually probably want to keep that here. And then we just need to adjust our image width. And you can adjust it based on percentage, or if you click on percentage, you can change it pixels. So if we knew how wide this image was, we could adjust it based on that, something like that. And the subscribe button, let's take a look. We would need to add in all of these. This is going to be another training. I'll do another training specifically on the navigation because there's so much there. But if we add in all of these words, it's going to affect our spacing. So I would add in all the things that you know you're going to have on your navigation before you start messing with spacing to see how it looks, because this probably actually was going to have to get adjusted. Okay. Oh, that's a problem saving. Okay, we'll let it do its thing. All right. So how is it going so far? Are you with me? Let me see what other things that I can teach you. So we've talked about how you can put sections inside of sections, sections inside of rows so that you can make them behave as elements. We can remove that. That would look better. Text. We can change this back to white. So that looks better. I know none of this looks quite right. But the margins and the padding elements have, oh, yep, there we go. Padding here are going to be your friend to get things spaced nicely. The other thing you should know is the spacing between your lines. See how there's a little bit of space between each line of text? Just a little bit. See how there's not a lot of spacing between these lines? That can make such a huge difference. So if you are looking at it and you're like, that looks like it's hard to look at. It's kind of difficult for me to want to read that. It looks scrunched together. There's a setting for that. So if you go in your settings and you go to override, it is the line height. So you can adjust the line height and spread it out a little bit. You don't want to get crazy, but spread it out so it's a little more pleasant to look at, a little bit better on the eye, a little easier on the eye. And okay, so let's continue on. Let's do this here because these are kind of some of the tricks happening as well. So we added our section as an element, which allows us to add in another 2-column row. So we have a 2-column row. Within this column, we have a section. And within that section, we have another 2-column row. So we can add in our input box. Inputs are going to be anywhere where they're typing information in. It automatically defaults to the email, but if you click on settings, you can change what input type. Are they putting in their name? Are they putting in their full name? Are they only putting in their first name, last name, email address, phone number, address, city, and then there's a custom. So this one, they're asking for email. So we're going to leave it as email. Email is automatically required. Anytime you have an email input on a form, on a page, it is automatically required because that is how we ID people. That's how we keep our contacts in order. Okay, and then there's a lot of settings in here for input boxes. You can change the background color. You can change the border color. You can change the width of it. You can adjust if there's a shadow on the box or a border around the box. Corners, do you like them to be rounded or sharp? You can, let's click on this label here. We have the different states. So when no one's clicking, let's see if this actually does it. If we click into the email box, see how it changes? Now it has email back there behind it, but it also has this other label up here. That is this. So if we have the default is when you haven't clicked into it. That's what it looks like. If we click on focused, that means we've clicked in it and that's what it's going to look like. So we've clicked it. That's what it looks like. And then the other one, I'm not exactly sure what the value is. Okay, so when you start typing in there, what is that going to look like? And that's what value is. So that's what you can adjust. So they've given us a lot of control over what that can look like. I'm going to leave everything as is for now, but know that it's there. And that, again, is when we go to the input settings, the input element, and I clicked on this label settings. And you can also switch between these here, and it actually gives us some more settings on here. So if you go to focus, we can go to placeholder and see all the different kind of settings. So know that that's there. What else is there? I think that's pretty covers it. Label position here. So see how it's adjusting that. we were having an issue with them all showing up like this. And it's like, well, that doesn't work if the background's black, right? Or a dark color. So they gave us the option of being able to lower it down. And that's actually the default, which is great. And that's only applies. See how it switches me over to focused as soon as I click on this, because that only is applying to the focused state. Okay. All right. And then we would have a button here like this, and it says subscribe free. So I'm going to edit subscribe free. And how does it look? Our text could probably be smaller. There's a little bit more spacing around the words. These are all things that you have the ability to adjust. So the purpose of this training, again, is just so you are aware of what you're able to adjust inside of the editor. And they've given us so much. I'm looking for font size. Whoops, way too small. We could look and see what the size is, but I'm just going to eyeball it for now. The other thing that I could do is remove padding and margin on all of the columns and the rows to help it fill in that space, because there isn't a lot of gap here. So how do we close up those gaps? The other thing that you can do on buttons is you can do this full width, enable it, and it'll take up all the width that it has within its. So right now it's the column that is providing that box. We can shrink that down. Now I'm going to leave it big because I want to show you something. See how there's like no space here? But if I highlight over here, there's like still a lot of space on this side of the column, but not a lot of space. There's no space left on this side, on the left side. That's because the row, this row box still has padding on it. So if I were to remove the padding on the sides, now there is no more space, right? Which we don't necessarily want. We want a little bit of padding around it. So we can add some back in on our column. And then the other thing is that the button is a lot more narrower than the input. So we can adjust this right here. Okay, not exact, but pretty close. You can see that they're also taller. They made the input and the button bigger, which is also, I think that's the font size that's affecting that. Font size and padding. You can adjust the padding. I probably would adjust the font size before anything else. Input, let's see. Let's find, it's probably gonna be label, and then font size of the label, so we can make that bigger. It's not adjusting my height though, so it actually looks like it is gonna be the padding. So we can bump up our padding a little bit. We'll do that much more. Delete my input. Here we go. And their email label is actually smaller. So you can see it's matching the size a little bit more. And then I'll add a little padding. Here, it's jumping. It's going between 10 and 15. So if we want a nice middle, we can type it in like that. Okay, last thing I think, and then we'll wrap it up, is I want to show like, well, how can you do like fun things like this? So this is where we added in our section in as a element, and that's allowing us to have this 2-column row. And then it's also allowing us to have this other row by itself, because what I think they did is we're going to copy this text. We're going to put this text in here. It's not going to look identical because I don't have the font that they're using right now. It's left aligned. It's definitely bolder. Just do that for now. And it's italicized, right? Okay. And then they have that like bar here, which is like a nice little touch, right? It's like, oh, this is a quote. It's a little bit different. I know that I'm looking at something that's different than what the other stuff is on the page I'm looking at. So I think all that they did was they added a border to a row here. And I'm going to remove this padding, shrink that down a bit, because you can, if you enable the borders, you can have a border going around the whole thing. Let's make it the right color so we can see what we're doing. And let's make it bigger. So you can have a border going around your whole thing, around your entire row, but we can also just choose to not. So if I choose here, it will take the border off everywhere, and then I just want to apply it to the left, right? So I can also remove extra padding on the sides and tighten that back up. So I think that's all that they did. So that looks pretty good, other than my font not matching, and I know it's not all identical, right? If we make this white, it would definitely show up better, and then maybe we don't want it bold anymore. All right, now I got to edit this color. There we go. Right, so something like that. So there's some really cool things you can do design-wise too, if you just understand what the abilities are, what you can do in here. I know I told you I would show you. This is super easy. So if we're going to add in, we have like another white section here. I'm just going to add in a row to kind of make this a little bit bigger. And then, so this will be like our recent post section, right? I'm going to skip that. And then we're going to come down to this next black section because there's an image in there. So this is a 2-column row, right? We've got an image on the left and then text and an input and a button on the right. Pretty simple. On this side, we have the image. We'll add in that image really quick and see if we can spot it. What is it? Okay. This one here. And the section is black. And then there's some text. I'll just put in some filler text for now. And there's an input and there's a button, right? But they have it popping up, right? So if we remove all of the padding, all of it on the section and the row, what that's going to do is just make everything all nice and tight. And if we come into the image and we remove the top margin, right, it just like tightens it all up, but it doesn't make things look overlapped yet. That's where just knowing that you can do negative margins comes in handy. So you just have to slide this negative, and now you have this like overlap happening, which is a nice little touch, right? It just adds in an extra cool visual. And then I probably need to add in some more padding on the bottom because that wasn't tight. Yeah, like that. Okay, so you can do negative margins. And then the other thing I was going to show you is these boxes, right? So how do we get this happening? So we have a new section. We have, this is text. It's not an image, but it's text. I can highlight it. And then we have these lines here. So let's go ahead and build that really quick. So we're going to add a 3-column row because what I'm seeing is that this needs to go into a column, this needs to go into a column, and this needs to go into a column, right? It's going to be a very narrow column. I did the wrong, yeah, here we go. We're in the wrong spot. It's going to be a narrow column, but it is a column. So let's just do a headline for now. And then, so that goes in our middle. This is going to be our featured authors text. Featured authors. And then we need some lines on the side. So there's an element in here called divider. You can add one on each side. And I'm going to remove the margin off of, oh, there is no margin. We'll add margin. Try to eyeball it. So I think about 15 makes it lined up. So we'll go 15. Okay, so now we have the text, we have the lines, but let's tighten it all up and I'll make our lines the right color. So our line color is going to be this same tan. settings, color, style guide. If you have your style guide set up, that's where you can find your default colors. And then if we click on the row on the settings and we shrink our width, it will adjust it for us. I think we could probably remove some padding. Yep, some margin on our column. I don't know if I've pointed this out yet, but to get to the column, you just have to hover inside of your column, and there's an extra little column settings button that pops up. So that's really handy. Let's see if that'll allow us to make that a little more narrow. Yep, so something like that. And then if you don't want your lines to be bigger, you can also, there's settings for your divider where you can adjust the alignment and you can adjust the width. So let's say we want this to be smaller, but we still want it to be tight against our words, our featured authors. So I can make it not as wide and have it right aligned. And then this one I can have same thing. What did I make it? Like 68, not as wide and left aligned like that. Okay, so there's that. And then we have, let's put our background in here. Background. And it looks like it's, I think it's just this background here. Okay, all right. Now this here is a row, I believe, with 3 columns, but this column has color behind it, right? So we're going to do a 3-column row, and one has an image. So we'll put an image. We want to put an image here of Napoleon Hill. And then this one has we'll do like headline, subheadline, and text, right? Here, so we'll do headline, subheadline, and a paragraph. And then this will make his name. This one is going to be some text, and this one's going to be some text. I'm not going to get the text all in there. And then over here, we have maybe another subheadline and then a bullet list. So we'll do a subheadline. I know a subheadline is tiny. And then a bullet list. So a bullet list is a element that you would use if you are trying to make something like this with some icons off to the side. Now our icons here, because my style guide isn't correct, are showing up white. So let's change our icon color to the darker color. And we want our text, looks like it's just normal color. So we'll just go to our normal black color. And then this here, I know it's bigger. We'll make that bigger. Something like that. But how did they get this color back here? Oh, also this dotted. I don't know if you can tell what that is on my screen. It's a divider, but it is dotted. So we can go to the divider and we can edit that. And we have the type. We have solid, dashed, and dotted. So we can make it dotted. I can make it that same tan color, and I'll probably adjust the width because theirs didn't, and I'm going to center it. Theirs didn't look like it was, maybe it is the full width. Okay, and then go to author page. This is a link. So we'll just do a normal, we'll just do a headline for now. Go to author page with a arrow. Let's see if this lets us do it on a headline. So if you scroll into your settings on your headlines, and I think also in your subheadlines, and I think also in the paragraphs, if I'm not mistaken, there's this icon before and icon after that you can turn on. So if we want an icon after, we can turn that on. We can choose, I'm going to type in arrow and choose an arrow, and now we have an arrow. And then I would just hyperlink this, highlight it, turn it into my link, and now it functions as a link. I can stick a space. I think we can adjust that. Let me go back into the settings and icon size mobile, margin left, margin right. So I can add some space between the font, the words, and my icon. Okay. And then for these ones, they're using different icons. So I can come in here. I forgot what those are called. Aren't they like carrots? Yep. Which direction do they point? They point to the left here. And I can make the icons bigger. Oh, yep. Those are making them bigger. Okay. Like that. All right. And then for the color behind everything, it's just your column background. So we can go to the column settings here. I'm going to turn on background color. And I think that there's some sort of gray. Thought I had a gray. Yeah, I think it's that color there. I don't know if you guys can see it. Let me move our section up. And I just realized I'm building this in the wrong section. There we go. That should be easier to see. Let me add in just something down here so that I can scroll this up. So can you see how the background is a little bit different of a color? I don't know if that's the actual right color. But also what's happening is that's the background, but the inside the row is white. And then we have like a solid white, and then we have the solid background. So we would actually want to make the row background white. And it might not be white. I think I saved this color. It's like an off-white. So it's that one. And then we have that, but our spacing is off, right? So we would need to add in some padding around this. So we'd go to the column. If we don't want margin because that's not going to help. Margin is like the outside of it. We want to adjust the spacing on the inside of it. So we want this left or right. We want some on the bottom. We want some on the top. And now we have a little more spacing around our words with the color background in there. Okay. I think we got through all the things I wanted to show you on this one, which is great because we are about out of time. So here's the kind of what we did. We covered a lot of things that you need to know about how you can use the editor. We'll continue this series of using the editor. They're really the best way to learn though is to just get in here and start building stuff. If you want to know how to make something look a certain way, ask. You can come into the CF 2.0 Geek Out group or the GeekOut Academy group if you're in there and ask. And then if you have an example that you can show, like I did of like, oh, let's figure out how they made this. How did they get the line, the bar on the side of the text, or how did they get the button next to the input inside of this column? Come and ask, and we'll show you how to do it. So hopefully this was helpful in learning possibilities of what you can do and learning how some of the features in the editor work. Again, I'll continue showing. There's so many settings in here that I didn't even talk about yet. That I will continue to dive into and make content around. This hopefully is enough to get you started. You can feel comfortable getting your backgrounds and images and text in here. Really, really important to start with your style guide. I did not cover style guide in this training. What you're going to want to do is watch the style guide training that I have. It's inside of our members area. It's free. I will be sending a link. We'll be sending a link out to our entire community on where to get to that particular training and others. And then also you should know that we have other videos that are coming that are not going to be free, and we'll continue to tell you how you can participate and get access to those things. But that is it for me today. Michelle, I see you, and an unknown Facebook user, I see you as well. I'm glad this was so helpful, and we will continue doing it. We will see you guys later next time.